Brian Bilbray. Also joining me is Democratic Congressman Luis Gutierrez, and he is a sponsor of the Strive Act that effectively grants amnesty to millions of illegal aliens. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me tonight. Congressman Gutierrez, I'd like to really ask you, a provision of the bill would make illegal immigration a felony. What is wrong with that? Illegal aliens are breaking the law, and why shouldn't they be charged with a felony?
Well, first of all, because it's not a felony on our books. Illegal immigration and coming here to work is not like some larceny. It's not like breaking into someone's house. It's not like killing someone. It's not like stealing someone. These are people who have come here to do, in many cases, jobs which no one else will do. As evidenced by that, Kitty, we have the Growers Association from across this country calling upon the federal government to reform a broken immigration system so that the crops in Oregon, the crops in California, the crops across this country can be picked by someone. There is a labor shortage. The fact is that they admit,
laws are laws,
and people already, if I could just finish, we already know. And yeah, people, there should be a consequence to your action. So when you look at the Strive Act, as we've proposed it, there are penalties. There's a $2,000 penalty. People must get at the back of the line. People must wait. People must be fingerprinted to make sure they haven't committed any felony that's on the book and that their only violation.
Let me get
and so we think that
Bilbray
that's a better way of addressing the issue. Simply criminalizing 12 million people does not correct the situation.
Congressman Bilbray, the felony provision was in the Sensenbrenner immigration bill. It failed. Is this too hard to get through?
In fact, Mr. Gutierrez voted last year to maintain the felony part of the Sensenbrenner bill. The fact is, we all know the overwhelming majority of those who come into this country illegally use false documents and take other people's Social Security numbers, which is a felony. And the fact is when the congressman says they just come here to work, he doesn't admit to get those jobs and to get those benefits, they show false documents, which is a felony and continues and has been a felony for a long time. So the fact is that we are talking about felons, that when people come into this country illegally, their intention is to get a job, even if it means showing a false ID or a false Social Security number, stealing somebody else's number, which is a felony. So it's kind of disingenuous to say, oh, these people haven't committed a crime. The overwhelming majority of them, to get the job that Mr. Gutierrez says they deserve, they must commit a felony to get those false documents, and they do. So let's just be upfront about it. That's why the congressman, along with 199 other Democrats, voted against Mr. Sensenbrenner's amendment to his bill to take the felony part out. He voted to maintain it in the Sensenbrenner bill.
Let me move on to another issue. The felony is important. Let me move to sanctuary cities. And Congressman Bilbray, in H.R. 3631, Accountability of Enforcing Immigration Act of 2007, there is a major crackdown on cities offering sanctuary. Why is that important?
Well, first of all, because it sends a clear message that the days of sanctuary and being protected illegally in this country are over with, that 9/11 changed it, and that when you come to this country, you're not going to have cities that are going to not only ignore that you're illegal, but actually shield you from federal enforcement. What's important is send a message to those who may come here illegally, and also to the cities, that you want to come and ask for money from the federal government to fight terrorism and protect your neighborhoods. You start by stopping the hiding of people who are illegally in this country, and that cities like New York and San Francisco should not be asking the federal government to subsidize their Homeland Security program when, in fact, they're undercutting it by hiding illegals in the country. Remember, the 9/11 terrorists were overstays. They stayed in this country illegally, used false documents, and the fact is that they were illegal. And the fact is that we got to make sure we send a signal that doesn't happen again.
Let me bring up this point because, and Congressman Gutierrez, I'd like to get your comments on this. The sponsor of this bill, Florida Republican Congresswoman Ginny Brown-Waite, said of this bill, and we would like to bring up her quote, when cities proclaim that they will not check immigration status, they essentially become a safe haven for not only out-of-status immigrants, but criminal aliens who have often committed violent atrocities in our country, and we run the risk of inviting terror into these cities. Now, Congressman Bilbray brings up the whole security issue after the 9/11 attacks. This is not something that you can argue about, is it?
Well, let me just say the following. First of all, I didn't want to interrupt Congressman Bilbray, so I hope he doesn't interrupt me. He said that I said that they deserve these jobs. You can check your Kitty. I never said such a thing. You started out by saying that my bill was an amnesty bill. It's an earned legalization bill. There are penalties. We don't forget about the actions that they make. Our immigration system is broken. It's an unworkable system. Let's say, for example, we have Corporal Gutierrez, first casualty in the war in Iraq, came to this country illegally. Would we make him a felon? We have Sergeant First Class Jimenez, disappeared from Massachusetts in Iraq. His wife is under order of deportation, a deportation that has been stayed. Should we criminalize her stay? We have dozens of other men and women who are serving in our armed forces today, who have parents, who have wives, who have children, who are illegally undocumented in this country, and should we criminalize them?
Let me ask you a quick follow-up, though.
I think certainly not, that we shouldn't criminalize them. They are part of a broader problem that we have. Sanctuary cities, because cities look at issues such as crime locally, they want everyone to participate, and in the absence of the federal government fixing our broken immigration system, they have taken actions in order to secure the safety of the people who live in that city.
Congressman, you said the word, though. You even slipped and said they're illegally in the country. And the fact is they're not only illegal, but they're using false documents, which are a felon. They're using other people's Social Security numbers. And the fact is they are committing felons out there just to get those jobs that you say that isn't a big deal. It is a big deal.
Congressman Gutierrez, let me just ask you a quick follow-up question. The Senate's comprehensive immigration failed in June because it granted amnesty. The American public clearly is not in favor of this. So how can you continue to promote the STRIVE Act through hearings?
Well, now, we did have a hearing last week. We have a broken immigration system. We want security in the United States of America. The STRIVE Act calls for 12,000 more border enforcement agents, calls for over 2,000 more agents to come into worksite, increases the penalties. It's certainly a bill that espouses security, security, security. And part of that security, Kitty, is that let's say tomorrow we made them all felons. Would they all suddenly disappear from our streets? Would they all suddenly disappear from our neighborhoods? Would they all disappear from America? Absolutely not. This is criminalizing an element of a community. I mean, watch the words. The first thing we do is we talk about 9/11. We talk about the terrorists. We mix them up with immigrants that clean our bathrooms, make our beds, raise our children, pick our fruits, and try to mix them all together, criminalizing and calling them all terrorists. They're not all terrorists. They do fundamental work that is necessary. I'm not saying that. The growers associations are saying that across this country. Industry after industry is saying, fix the immigration system. Fix the immigration system for the security of our economy, because they are essential workers to our
Congressman Bilbray, go ahead. I'm going to have to give Congressman Bilbray the last word here.
Mr. Gutierrez is trying to hide illegal immigration with legal immigration. Mixing is between legal and illegal.
Congressman Bilbray, I'm going to have to give you the floor for the moment.
And what they will notice is that I never interrupted Mr. Bilbray, yet he insists on interrupting me.
Let's let him actually reply to your last comment.
Thank you very much.
I was given the floor because you're mixing, you are the one that's mixing legal and illegal immigration.
I didn't interrupt you, did I, Mr. Bilbray? But you insist on interrupting and interrupting. I let you finish, make your point, and then I try to make a point. That's the American way.
The American way is not to mix legal and illegal activity, and that's what you're doing.
I have learned how to comport myself in an appropriate democratic fashion.
I appreciate that.
Congressman Bilbray, please reply.
My reply is that the congressman is mixing, he's the one mixing legal and illegal immigrants. He's trying to hide illegal activity under the guise of immigrants. My mother was a legal immigrant. Many people who are legal are more outraged at people like the congressman trying to hide illegal activity under the guise of those of us who are children and families of immigrants. So the fact is, anytime you reward or you try to protect illegal activity, you're going to have a bad result. And the fact is, what we saw in New Jersey, what we've seen in neighborhoods, what we saw in 9/11, and what we're seeing along the border. I grew up and was raised at the border, and I've seen the deaths that are happening there, and they happened because we started rewarding illegal immigration with 86 amnesty, and we shouldn't do it again.
Gentlemen, we have to leave it there. I'm terribly sorry.
We will do the same the next time, Katie.
We will continue this debate. You can be assured of that.
I'm not afraid of the debate.
Good. We embrace it. Congressman Brian Bilbray and Luis Gutierrez, thank you very much for your participation tonight.
Thank you very much.
Coming up at the top.